Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries on location. You may hear the sweet sounds of nature. It got really hot in the house and it was real stuffy. I had to take a walk. So I'm outside and we're going to go through this Mark Madden tweet. And you would think people would be smarter than this and wouldn't need to be told. But Mark Madden is tweeting about WWE signing Logan Paul. To me, not even worth talking about because, well, he's just going to be their go-to celebrity for big events. At least that's what, you would think. But all the activity around this Mark Madden tweet has decided I'm going to talk about it. So first, I said what I thought about Logan Paul. He is just going to be the go-to celebrity for their celebrity shows. Guy has a massive social media following. He's like a Kardashian as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what he's famous for. But here's what Mark Madden said about WWE signing Logan Paul. He says, quote, AEW signs all the good workers. WWE got Bad Bunny, Pat McAfee, and Logan Paul. WWE comes out so far ahead on that exchange, it's mind-numbing. What's even more mind-numbing is that AEW fans would argue that. And then guess what happened? If you said AEW fans got mad at him and started arguing with him, you're absolutely correct. For starters, if you don't care, you don't care. There's a lot of people who simply don't care, and therefore why they are responding makes no sense to me. But WWE being something that was on TV when Logan Paul was a kid, when Bad Bunny was a kid, of course, if they're willing to get the money, they're going to bite. If you can get that money, get it. Who cares, right? Does it really matter? No. But the exposure is worth a lot, and that's kind of what people are missing. WWE is in the attention business. They're in the eyeballs business. The good wrestling match business. If it's a good match, great. If it's not, then who cares really? But the very, very first comment is absolutely ridiculous in terms of what people are saying. It says, quote, actually, that's an indictment on the current state of wrestling if it's true. If anything, it shows that WWE fans prefers the sizzle over the steak. Oh God, it's so stupid. I'm glad somebody was in the comment section that corrected this person. Said WWE been using celebrities in wrestling roles since WrestleMania 1. It's worked 99% of the time. WCW used celebrities, so did TNA, and yes, so has AEW. That's how you get mainstream attention. This should be. As a matter of fact, they were using celebrities before WrestleMania 1. Hell, they used celebrities to lead into WrestleMania 1. It is what it is. Okay. Somebody says Cain Velasquez was to bring in the MMA audience. Then you have Logan to bring in a new generation of audience. Like, this isn't a dumb move whatsoever, but it's what they do with it that determines it. Showcase other superstars to get this new fan base attached to. Yes, that's common sense. That's common sense. It's common sense. So let's get into some of the angry AEW fan base. You suck, Madden, and you sucked in WCW too. It says WWF signs all the good workers. WCW got Master P, Dennis Rodman, and David Arquette. WCW comes out so far ahead on that exchange, it's mind-numbing. What's even more mind-numbing is that the WWF fans will argue about that. See how stupid you sound? Here's the thing when it comes to WCW using celebrities. They were not very good at it. They were not good at it. They did the same thing with No Limit and Master P that they did with Kiss. They basically were licensing the name. Hey, Master P, come on our TV and we'll use one of your guys as a wrestler and we'll just kind of integrate you into the product that way instead of using celebrities more in a WWE way, which is to heighten something. Mike Tyson was used to heighten the Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin match to add intrigue into it. Yes, Master P was very hot at the time that he was signed and brought in, but WCW's creative, as far as the idea was concerned, was whack. It was stupid. You can't tell me that it took Master P and kind of aligned him with Booker T a little bit, especially since he was the top guy in 99, 2000, that it wouldn't have got over. You know, there was a better way to do what they did. And David Arquette's situation was never going to work anyway, because David Arquette wasn't really an A-list actor. And plus, they put him in the ring and then put him over people and give him the work. It was stupid. I don't see WWE doing that just yet. I don't think they've gotten so far where they're going to start making Logan Paul the world champion or anything like that. It's kind of ridiculous. But doing a specialty match, yeah, they'll do that. They'll do a bunch of those. They did 2 of them at WrestleMania this year. Somebody says WWE's youth demographic has been abysmal, and none of these names are going to help anything long term. They have no base audience, and trend chasing runs out rather quickly. Once Vince is finally gone, WWE is fucked. This is something else that was repeated in the comment section to Mark Madden's tweet. It was that WWE's audience is old, and I'm going to just, instead of arguing it myself, I'm going to read the argument they had. So to piggyback off of that previous tweet, it says WWE sees their audience has trended towards ancient territory, and they're doing what they can to try to shift that. So, and somebody responded, yeah, like Raw and SmackDown never win the same demo AEW does on Monday and Friday nights. Somebody says, well, they do win 18 to 49 regularly, but they perform best in the 50 plus every single week. Somebody says, don't AEW fans say all the time that all that matters is the 18 to 49? But how can they do that regularly, still be in trouble because of the larger 50 plus audience than AEW, since they have more total viewers? So somebody says, quote, SmackDown and Raw routinely beat recurring programming 18 to 34. On Monday, Raw got 3 times as many young viewers as anything on cable. Their key demo is softer, but the younger audience is definitely there by current TV standards. What people don't understand, and I'm going to interrupt this argument to make this point. Young people do not watch TV. Young people have streaming services. Everybody within the entertainment industry knows this. If I could have sworn I had this conversation with you guys before. And this is the Meltzerization of the wrestling audience. The wrestling fans think they know everything because they listen to Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer thinks the bread and butter of wrestling is TV, and it is, and it has been for 40 years. But they don't realize that TV is changing. The TV is changing underneath their feet. It's the same thing when Dana White criticized Vince McMahon for, hey, what the hell are you doing, Vince? You're getting out of pay-per-view? You can't do that. That's stupid, Vince. What you doing? And then Vince got out of pay-per-view. And then Dana White just sat back and watched, like, hey, he's cannibalizing his pay-per-view business, his DVD business. What's going on? And it ended up being great in the long term because they were in on the ground floor of streaming. So basically, somebody in that office, can't say it was Vince, but it was somebody in that office that saw streaming coming and decided to pivot to streaming, because Vince was always trying to get rid of the pay-per-view providers anyway. You know, another middleman for him to cut out, because that's what he does. He cuts out the middleman. If you look at all of Vince's business proposal that piss people off, it's all about cutting out the middleman. He got rid of ringside photographers because he wanted to have a WWF magazine. So all of the little other magazine companies, they had to work a little bit harder to get pictures of WWF wrestlers. That's one of the things you'll probably hear somebody like Brian Last complain about, is how the WWF launched their own magazine in order to cut into, you know, what it was, some of the like the after mags and all that kind of stuff. They kind of started doing damage to them, you know, to get rid of the middleman, you know. So yes, TV is doing great. TV is still the bread and butter of pro wrestling. It still is where all the money is generated, but for how much longer? You know, as more and more people cut cable, people are going to think that the viewership is going down. And in reality, what happened is the people who have cable have gone down. So what's going to end up happening is there's going to be an eventual pivot to streaming. And NBC does not participate in a lot of the stream ranking systems. I learned this from following guys like, I think it's TV Grim Reaper. And it's somebody else. He does like a weekly guide on NBC. And I don't know if I asked him or if I just was kind of eavesdropping on Twitter and saw it. But they said that Peacock doesn't participate because people was wondering how the new Bel Air show was doing. And I was wondering, of course, how WrestleMania had done and all that kind of stuff. But they was talking about how Bel Air was such a huge success on Peacock, but the numbers couldn't be proven because NBC does not participate in the streaming ranking systems or whatever the hell they call it. I think it's Nielsen Stream. I forget what it's actually called. But it makes a lot of sense when you think about it that way. Now it's got the audacity to rain, so you may hear raindrops in the background. I come outside to escape the heat, and it starts to rain. All right, so to get back to this argument, somebody says, it doesn't counter what the majority of WWE viewers are over the age of 35. But that's just TV by and large. Here's the number of viewers, or the percentage of viewers age 35 plus for the last 3 episodes of the big wrestling shows per WrestleNomics. 71% for Raw and Dynamite, 59% for SmackDown. I think that says a lot about, again, TV. So let's go back to people roasting Mark Madden. Somebody said, arguing with Mark Madden. Somebody says, Pat McAfee being a full-time on-air commentator isn't really the same as Bad Bunny having a short stint, or Logan Paul possibly be coming in as a part-timer. That is true. What's mind-numbing is that people will actually listen to your fucking dumbass and awful takes in the year 2022. If I ever want to fall asleep early, I just put on some 2000 WCW and hear your dumbass speak. It's like instant NyQuil. Well, I didn't say Mark Madden was brilliant. I didn't even say Mark Madden was smart. I'm just saying Mark Madden makes a valid point. But you also have to understand, too. Sometimes deals are made not specifically for demographic reasons. That's one of the reasons why they make decisions. For instance, bringing in Cain Velasquez. It wasn't just about the quote-unquote MMA audience, what somebody says here. It was also about the Latino audience because he's such a big star in Latin America, specifically in Mexico, where he's from. So people was like, okay, well, if Cain Velasquez is a big star in Mexico, let's bring him in, maybe do something with him. But, ended up being an absolute disaster. So that didn't quite work out. I wouldn't be surprised if one day you see Canelo Alvarez brought in WWE for maybe to team up with Rey Mysterio to do something. I just see that as something WWE would do. Somebody says, this just tells me that WWE can't build anyone, so just bring in celebrities to bring in some desperate mainstream attention. Again, WWE's highest ratings were Roman Reigns and Riddle. Not Logan Paul. Logan Paul being on Raw didn't generate ratings as far as TV is concerned, but it did generate a lot of clicks and a lot of attention in terms that Logan Paul has a big audience. People who are interested in stuff that he can do. And I can respect that even if I don't appreciate it, don't like it. So it is what it is. Somebody says, this is brought to you by the same mind of, I can't name you a single good disco match, but he's better than Keith Lee. He said that? That's great. Somebody says, not arguing against his reach at all, but this is all a stunt for it, and it's cheap and easy. Yes, because WWE signing Logan Paul was one of the biggest tweets. It broke the internet for a certain amount of time. And mostly it was Logan Paul fans tweeting about it. And just like when they signed Valerie Lareda, that also kind of snapped the internet a little bit. And it was mostly MMA purists being happy Valerie Lareda is gone because they hate her. So it is what it is. I was almost actually surprised how many MMA purists hate Valerie Lareda. I didn't know until I saw her being signed. And so many MMA accounts were like, good, I'm glad she's gone. She's just an Instagram model anyway. And I was like, yeah, well, you ain't gonna get no complaints out of me, brother. So it says, come on, let's keep going. No one comes out ahead if they're not following the same business model. They do what works for them. AEW appeases the hardcore audience, and WWE goes for the more glamorous mainstream approach. You're the only one making this a competition. Yes, but eventually Warner Brothers are going to want AEW to grow eventually. They can coast as things are right now, but you have to eventually grow your audience. Either at some point, And I'm surprised. I will give AEW credit. I'm surprised they've been going along as they could. But I think it's been the injection of new guys, like CM Punk and Danielson and Cole and now Claudio and Samoa Joe, that has kept that fan base satiated and happy. Otherwise, they would have floated off a long time ago. Because you see their audience kind of goes back. They had 800,000 viewers or something like that just 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now they're back over 1 million, which is good. But, they had a double cage match on TV. That's, so you would think they would have over 1 million viewers. You stab somebody in the head with kebab skewers. I would hope 1 million people saw that. So somebody says, your social gathering and visual uniqueness will be added to our own. Creativity is irrelevant. Determination is irrelevant. Passion is irrelevant. Resistance is futile. And it's supposed to be like WWE drones. For starters, creativity, determination, and passion, everybody pretty much has that. And if you actually listen to a lot of the celebrities that they talk to, a lot of them really, really like wrestling. It's not just about money. Logan Paul wouldn't be doing this if he just was like, okay, well, it's a cool payday. I could see him doing WrestleMania once because, hey, cool payday. But to sign to do more, well, that means he wants to do it. Bad Bunny popping up to do this stuff. He didn't have to. Like, that's the thing that that people don't seem to understand. It's one thing to sign fading celebrity, when somebody's on the downslope of their career. It's another thing to get somebody who are at the height of their career and that actually wants to do this stuff and wants to be around it and then wants to go around and tell other people how much fun they had and how good it is and be good ambassadors for the brand. That's that conversation. I believe it was Bad Bunny who went I think he was talking to LeBron James or something about it. Like that, you can't buy that kind of experience and that kind of mainstream attention because people who did not even know he did that now know he did it. So not only are you reaching an audience that you had no intention of reaching before. Now, I think WWE doesn't do a really good job of making sure that audience sticks around. Like they did this whole thing with Bad Bunny, that was great. But then they teamed him up with Damian Priest, and look at what they've done with Damian Priest. Not saying that they've buried him. They've actually, pushed him as a U.S. champion. He was cool for a while. But he should be the hottest fucking guy in the company. That should have been straight out of WrestleMania. He should have been one of the hottest guys in the fucking company. The fact that they chose to, drag him along for a little while and then even turn him heel was a mistake. It was a mistake. Now, unless they're going to have Damian Priest versus Bad Bunny. Oh, shit, that's a Cardinal. Cool. I don't see a lot of Cardinals these days. Somebody says, I don't look at it as coming out ahead. It's completely different business. WWE is built for celebrity signings. One look at Paige Van Zandt in the ring will tell you AEW isn't. AEW is pro wrestling. WWE is sports entertainment. When they both stick to that, it works. This is somebody else who thinks that pro wrestling is not sports entertainment. This is absolutely idiocy. Idiocy. This is why you can't argue with marks who don't understand the wrestling business. And all three of them guys are far more entertaining in the ring than watching someone like Zack Sabre Jr. And I will agree. Zack Sabre Jr. sucks. He sucks hard. He sucks ass. He sucks ass hard. Somebody says, other restaurants worry about producing quality food, but Burger King got Nelly, Little Huddy, and Anita. BK comes out so far ahead on that exchange. Yes, because guess what? If somebody, why would Sprite pay Nelly millions of dollars? Now, this is back when I was a kid, right? Sprite was doing commercials with Nelly. Why would they pay Nelly millions of dollars? Hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, if he's not going to increase business? Pepsi did a deal with Ludacris for a little while, and then it kind of got pissed off at Pepsi got pissed off at some stuff that he said in a song, and he ended up losing that sponsorship. Why would they pay him all that money if it wasn't about increasing their brand? Why would you do that? Why would Nike do all these deals with Michael Jordan and LeBron James if it wasn't about increasing business? Why would you do that? WWE is just following the same model as all other industries. You sign on performers to do something and to hopefully spread the good word of your brand. It's all sponsorships And WWE's going to take it to the next level, of course, by integrating the celebrity into the brand, and under the hopes that this kid's not going to do something stupid later. Like, hopefully Logan Paul doesn't do something completely retarded, in 2 years or something like that, to completely tarnish this thing. But, it is what it is. Somebody says Bad Bunny, Pat McAfee, Paul Logan. Is it Paul? Not Paul. Logan Paul. Versus CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, and Claudio Castagnoli. Who really came out ahead? Absolute potato brain. Let's see here. Punk, Danielson, and Castagnoli are all 40-year-old pro wrestlers. Okay? All three of them were on WWE. That's the only reason they have any value to you today, is because they were on WWE. Bad Bunny, Pat McAfee, and Logan Paul are all celebrities. Pat McAfee was a football player. Bad Bunny is a Grammy award-winning, multi-platinum singer. I've never heard any song other than Booker T, but people like him. All right? And Logan Paul, again, don't know what he's famous for, but apparently people like him. Now, if you're this is what matters, this is what's going on in the ring, then sure, Claudio, Danielson, and Punk, sure, okay? But if you're talking about generating intrigue and generating interest, then yes, WWE does come out on top without question. Because who's going to care about Claudio in 4 weeks? That's always been the thing. Just wait a good amount of time. It wasn't too long ago that we was arguing that CM Punk was a financial flop because we supposed that he made in the neighborhood of $3-4 million. And, we don't know. But we don't know for sure. But I can tell you that the attention that WWE is going to get is going to be worth the money that they put out. And if it's not, trust me, they won't do it for long. This is a great one. Does this human waterbed really think that wrestling fans want to see celebrities wrestle instead of wrestlers? No, but the average person does, and wrestling fans will watch wrestling regardless of who's in the ring. We know that because they watch AEW and they watch Impact, and they watch Hollywood wrestling from Hollywood. They watch OVW and NWA. You'll watch anybody they put in the fucking ring, and it's not even offensive to say that. But there's other people who they don't give a fuck what it is. You could have dunked The Undertaker in the Fountain of Youth with Shawn Michaels without the right storyline, and nobody's going to give a shit. But if you take somebody that they actually already like and then integrate them into what you like, people will get the general idea that, hey, this might be interesting. I may just watch this. Even if you don't watch nothing else on the show, you watch this. Maybe you'll tune into WrestleMania or SummerSlam just to see Logan Paul. And you'll watch the rest of the show, or maybe not. Maybe you'll just skim through the rest of the show just to see Logan Paul. Guess what? They still win. Because if you watch his match, that's time allotted towards watch hours on the streaming service that they get paid to be on. So, it's a pretty easy thing to go with here if you're not emotional and tripping out about this whole thing. It shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Let's see. As a fan, I'd much rather watch people who I actively avoid in real life over people that are exceptional in the art that I admire. Interesting. Considering you don't have to watch them if you don't want to. These people existing in terms of wrestling is temporary. They're not going to be there forever. Their job is to get mainstream attention, and then they move on. That's their job. Here's a good one. Yes, because Jay Leno and Dennis Rodman and Kevin Green and Kiss saved WCW, a company that still exists. Except WCW does not exist because Warner didn't want it. That's the thing. Turner didn't want it. I'm sorry. That's the thing. Whenever you talk about WCW and the failures of WCW, understand that WCW was still one of the highest rated shows on Turner. Even though the audience had plummeted, it was still one of the highest rated shows on Turner. The network did not want it. It didn't want it. It didn't matter what everybody else did. It didn't matter what everybody else liked. It didn't want it. Even though WCW was going down the toilet, it was still doing very well in comparison to everything else on TNT and in comparison to most other things on cable. The company that owned it simply didn't want it. So it is what it is. So you can't use WCW. Somebody says, this argument rules because they ran Bad Bunny as a babyface all over the TV and at WrestleMania when he was arguably the most popular Spanish language musician in America, and their ratings didn't budge because wrestling fans don't care about pop music and pop music fans don't care about wrestling. That might be true, but guess who does? You said the most popular Spanish language musician? Guess who does? The Spanish language audience. And guess what? People are not going to buy cable to see Bad Bunny on Raw. That's not going to happen. But they will go to WWE's Instagram. They will go to WWE's Facebook. They will go to WWE's YouTube. And they get paid for all of that. So while you may have a certain point, the fact that it matters, I mean, again, we got to go back to the regular old argument. Rap fans don't really care about cheeseburgers, and people who really love cheeseburgers, they don't really care about rap. But there is going to be a certain number of those people who are going to enjoy that crossover. Here's the beautiful thing: they actually broke out a graph. Oh, I love graphs. Somebody says this person says hot shotting doesn't work. You would think someone who witnessed the deaths of WCW would understand that better than anyone, but Mark Madden is a uniquely dumb man. And they shows Raw's ratings. I think this is Raw. Is this Raw's ratings? From 2021, before Bad Bunny and then after. So I would have to do an average. But WWE was averaging about 1.8 million people and about a 0.56 or 0.57 in ratings prior to Bad Bunny. And ratings actually, let's see. This is about it's about 0.18. Thereabout, and a point, it's about the same. But again, Bad Bunny wasn't on every episode of Raw at this point in time either. He also wasn't featured heavily on the show as much over time either. You have to understand, they didn't promote him and he was the only person on the fucking show. They promoted him when he was on the show. But also, if he did anything, it did buku numbers on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all those sites, which again, they're paying attention to. They have more than one revenue stream. Wrestling fans have to grow another brain cell and realize that, hey, even if it doesn't make a difference on TV, it makes a difference somewhere else. Okay? Somewhere else. You have to pay attention to these things. Let's see. Somebody says, so far ahead for who? How have you and others like you not figured out that there are two sizable and large different audiences for these feds? If you think that AEW's fan base isn't largely WWE fans, you're wrong. Again, there is a sizable fan base for WWE that are just plain pro wrestling fans that will watch pretty much anything you put on TV. There's people who watch Level Up. There's people who watch Dark and Dark Elevation. As much as I love wrestling, I do not dedicate any time to Level Up or Dark Elevation. Why? Because if I'm going to watch extra wrestling, I'm going to watch other wrestling promotions. MLW, NWA, GCW, whatever. I've watched enough Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and WWE. I don't need to, and I watch NXT UK, so I don't need to dedicate too much more time to that particular brand. I can separate myself. If I watch Dynamite, I watch Rampage, I don't really need to dedicate too much more time to non-mainstream, non-canon shows as far as AEW is concerned. So I tilt my time somewhere else. Now, the idea that, and you have to understand too, a lot of people hate watch WWE. They watch WWE just for the purpose of keeping up and hating it. But a lot of WWE's fan base also watch AEW, also watch MLW and NWA, etc. You know, so get over it. You know, a lot of those people are crossover fans. AEW fans prefer wrestlers over celebrities. No shit. Well, that's true. But when you're talking about brand acknowledgement, mainstream of your brand, how to really develop your brand, this is what Mark Madden is talking about. You know, yes, wrestling fans also want to see wrestling. WWE fans also want to see wrestling. But They also come to WWE because WWE does unique things, like put Logan Paul in the ring. I mean, we have been watching Bryan Danielson since 2009. It's like, goddamn, okay. We've seen him wrestle the biggest names in the business. What more could we see? Oh, I absolutely have to see him wrestle Wheeler Yuta? I do? I don't. There's nobody in AEW that I absolutely have to see Bryan Danielson wrestle. I've watched him wrestle CM Punk already when they both were in their prime, didn't have tons of injuries, and both wasn't 40-year-old and fragile. I've already seen it. Sure, it would be interesting to see it today, but ultimately, it is what it is. Okay? So, this has been fun. But I cannot do this forever. Because a lot of it is the same thing. Oh, this was interesting. A rapper, a washed-up punter, and the Suicide Forest guy are better than signing CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, and Adam Cole. Starting to really believe Ric Flair was right about you. You're a galaxy-brained moron. That's a really good one. But here's the thing. Pat McAfee also has a very successful podcast. Again, you have to have more than one brain cell. Bad Bunny is more than just a rapper. He seems to be a Spanish music icon. You know, he has videos with like 25 million views or some shit. I mean, if you can get somebody who has that kind of reach, if you even get, let's say you get 1% of Bad Bunny's audience to watch his match on a streaming service, and you assume that everybody that's a fan of his that watched that video at least once, and he has a video that has 25 million views. What's 1% of 25 million? What's 1% of 25 million? You do the math. If you can get 1% of his audience to watch his match, you win. You win. If you can get 3% or 5% of his audience, you win. If you can get 2% of the people who follow Pat McAfee to watch him do something at WrestleMania, you win. That's the thing. You don't need everybody. But you need just enough people to make a little bit of a difference. And let's say that you don't get a lot, you still have satisfied a very, very niche audience, an even nicher audience than wrestling fans. And is that wrestling fans who also like Bad Bunny, wrestling fans who also like Pat McAfee's podcast, wrestling fans who also are fans of Logan Paul. Those are going to be a small number of people too, who are going to be getting super served by the idea that somebody that they like is going to be involved in something they like. So, how about that? All right. Like, share, and subscribe, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later, man. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.